4 powerful Hollywood moguls were accused of committing the sexual abuse of teenage boys in 1999. They include X-Men director Bryan Singer, former president of BBC Worldwide America and former head of programming for Fox, NBC, and the WB, Garth Ancier, Gary Goddard, the head of a Los Angeles design group, and former president of Disney TV, David Newman. Mr. Newman previously worked with the ringleader of the perversion, Mark Collins Rector. Mr. Rector is a registered sex offender that pled guilty in 2004 to luring minors across state lines for sexual acts. The accuser is Michael Egan, now 31 years old. He claims that when he was a teenager, he was given money and threatened to keep quiet about the events that took place in Hawaii and Los Angeles, or he would be eliminated, along with his family. However, Mr. Egan claims to have reported it to the police and subsequently the FBI in the year 2000, but no action was taken. Mr. Egan's lawyer, Jeff Herman, has until April 24th, 2014, to file additional charges against additional alleged perps in the state of Hawaii. Thursday, April 24th, is the cutoff date for past sexual abuse cases to be filed under a 2-year window. All of the sordid details will be coming out in a documentary by Oscar-nominated director Amy Berg, nominated for Deliver Us from Evil, her expose on sexual abuse in the Catholic Church. The accusations have sent a shockwave of regret through Hollywood, as bigger names may be revealed for what they truly are. Sexual abuse of minors by Hollywood big shots is nothing new. The two Coreys, Feldman and Haim, recounted how they were abused by executives. Corey Feldman says it led to Corey Haim's untimely death. Well-known actor Jeffrey Jones was arrested for possession of child pornography and accused of soliciting a 14-year-old boy to pose for pornographic photographs. Oscar-winning director Roman Polanski was hunted for years for the rape of a 13-year-old girl, eventually ending up doing time in a Swiss prison. The perversion in the British entertainment industry is just as flagrant. BBC presenter Stuart Hall was jailed in 2013 for 14 counts of indecent assault against girls as young as 9. BBC radio personality Freddie Zapp was accused of sexual assault of a female, and of course, we all know of Jimmy Savile's unrelenting abuse of minors that spiraled out of control for years while authorities looked the other way. There are 1 million children exploited every year in the global sex trade, a $32 billion industry that has ties to the highest levels of government. The time has come to reclaim our dignity from the sick, elitist cancer that is rotting the very core of humanity.
The globalists have controlled the mainstream media for a long time, but now they're expanding, making the weaponization even more vicious and deceptive. All the major networks are state-run.
We are partnering this year with the NFL.
The NFL has become a political weapon against the Second Amendment and pushes Obamacare. MSNBC tells us that our children belong to the state.
We have to break through our kind of private idea that kids belong to their parents or kids belong to their families and recognize that kids belong to whole communities.
The brainwashing media machine has been turned up on high, and it's time for humanity to double down on the true people's media and strike back against the tyrants that are destroying our civilization with their lies and fraud. We are the resistance. You are the resistance. You are the info war. It is more important than ever to realize that we are not the alternative media. We are the true media. The establishment dinosaur press is dying.
We are in an information war, and we are losing that war.
Join us at InfoWarsNews.com and PrisonPlanet.tv. Members can share their memberships with up to 11 people. By subscribing, you will literally be buying war bonds in the info war to expand our operation in the face of the tyrants. Join us at PrisonPlanet.tv.
That back in 2003, Gary Goddard went online and contacted my client, who was then 14 years old. And through that contact, he established a friendship, told my client he had the right kind of look for show business. He told my client, Gary Goddard, told my client that he knew people in show business that could help him, including Bryan Singer. My client turned 15. he asked my client to send him more explicit photos. Ultimately, this young boy sent him nude photographs. Then they did a online chatting, and we alleged in a complaint that Gary Goddard and my client engaged in nude chatting. My client was nude while Gary Goddard masturbated. When my client turned 16, Gary Goddard traveled to Great Britain, had my client come down to London to meet him there, where they engaged in sexual activity, specifically anal intercourse. My client receives a communication inviting him to come down to a special event, and they invite him to come down, which turns out to be the Superman premiere in London. 17 years old, he arrives at this premiere event. He's told he's going to be riding with Bryan Singer. Bryan takes him and brings him onto the red carpet. Bryan Singer takes him into an after party where he offers him a quaalude, which my client at 17 does not accept, and then they give him a drink. He drinks it, says he feels very intoxicated. He gets invited back to an after party, or the after party in Bryan Singer's suite. And under the pretense of showing him some Superman memorabilia, Bryan Singer and Gary Goddard take this 17-year-old boy into the bedroom. They begin to try to do sexual things to him. He resists. He says no. He's uncomfortable. Gary Goddard leaves the room and comes back with a big muscle-bound man. And he physically manhandles my client. He pushes him around. He holds him while Bryan Singer starts to take off his clothes. After a little while, they tell this man, the big man, to leave. And my client says, I want to leave. I'm uncomfortable. And then he's told, well, Bryan says to him, if you just get on top of me and do some sort of masturbatory thing, then you can leave. My client complies, which he does while Gary Goddard's in the room. We allege that he is laying on top of, my client at 17 is laying on top of Bryan Singer naked and performs this type of sexual activity. Here's a photo taken that night of the premiere with Bryan Singer, Gary Goddard, and another actor who has nothing to do with this case at all. Just happens to be in the photo. And the boy.